Welcome to the law offices of Chris M. Ingram's Immigration News Show. Today we ask, are you ready for the internal USCIS shakeup?
We would like to thank attorney Chris M. Ingram and staff at the law offices of Chris M. Ingram for their hard work in preparing the research for this show, which draws on a wide variety of news sources from both sides of the aisle, providing a balanced view.
That's right. And Attorney Ingram is also a vocal advocate for the rights and protection of immigration applicants, although our coverage today is, of course, designed to be nonpartisan.
Please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our channel. We are also on Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Reddit, and Instagram, where we're growing rapidly thanks to our social media team. You can also visit our website on www.breakthroughUSA.com. We'd love to see you there.
And just a quick disclaimer, please note that this presentation should not be intended as legal advice for your specific situation. If you, a friend, or a family member would like a free consultation, you can visit our website at www.breakthroughUSA.com and schedule an appointment.
We'd love to hear from you and help you, if we can. We'd also like to point out that this presentation was created using AI hosts.
Okay, let's dive in. The mission for this deep dive today is, I think, really crucial. We are trying to cut through all the noise, all the confusion around immigration policy.
There's so much of it.
There is. And we want to deliver a factual, sort of forward-looking understanding of the American immigration experience.
Especially where it intersects with, the high-stakes world of STEM science, technology, engineering, and math.
Exactly.
And look, this isn't just some academic exercise for you listening. The core thesis that our legal team kept coming back to again and again in the research is that immigration is the scaffolding.
The scaffolding, I like that word.
It is, right. It's the structural element. It's what holds up everything. It determines who's in our university research labs, who's on the founding teams of startups, and frankly, the long-term viability of corporate R&D divisions.
It's completely woven into the lived experience of millions of professionals. And that brings us, I think, directly to the volatility factor. Our researchers emphasize this point. Immigration is probably the most dynamic and unpredictable policy area in the U.S. today.
It really is. And we're not just talking about, slow bureaucratic changes.
No, not at all. We're talking about things changing overnight. A policy, a visa category, even the fundamental rights of a whole community can just shift. One court order, one presidential proclamation, and everything is different.
And those shifts, they translate immediately into real, tangible constraints.
How so?
Well, imagine you're running a multi-year project on, say, advanced robotics, a sudden fee hike, or a new intense vetting process that doesn't just create a headache for HR.
No, it's an existential risk.
It's an existential risk to your entire project timeline. Your staffing model is thrown into chaos. And the high-skilled workforce, they value stability, they value predictability, and the current landscape just actively undermines both of those things.
So how are we going to map this out for everyone today? We're tackling this through 4 different dimensions, 4 stories, really, to explain this new reality. First, we'll start small. We're going to anchor ourselves in the individual human reality, a single powerful story of resilience.
Right, the personal level.
Then we'll zoom out to the sheer velocity of policy shifts we've seen in just the last 30 days or so. After that, we dive into something critical. The internal operational shakeup at USCIS that is changing how your application is actually processed.
And finally,
we connect all of these dots to the bigger picture, the macroeconomic health and the global competitiveness of the United States.
That's a comprehensive map. I think it's a great way to approach it. Let's unpack this journey, and let's start with that essential reminder of what this is all really about.
Human potential.
Exactly, human potential.
So we're starting with a story that I think fundamentally challenges our assumptions. It's the journey of Jalissa Arce. Now, when you think about the intense high finance world of Wall Street, and you picture a vice president at Goldman Sachs,
right,
you definitely don't associate that profile with someone who's spent their formative years living without documentation.
It is the ultimate paradox. And, this story so powerfully demonstrates that talent and, frankly, fierce ambition, they have nothing to do with your legal status.
Nothing at all.
Jalissa Arce's path. From an undocumented teenager to an elite Wall Street executive and now, a dedicated advocate, it's just an extraordinary testament to persistence.
So walk us through the beginning. Where did her journey start?
She was born in Guerrero, Mexico. She came to the U.S. with her family when she was 14 on a tourist visa.
That eventually expired.
That eventually expired, leaving her and her parents without lawful status while they were trying to build a new life in San Antonio. And her parents were, incredibly hardworking. They spent these grueling, long hours just selling funnel cakes at a theme park.
Yeah.
And Jalissa often talks about how that repetitive, physically demanding work really instilled in her this deep understanding of discipline and the connection between sacrifice and opportunity.
And that work ethic, it clearly translated. So we get to her education. She excels in high school, but how did she get past that massive structural barrier of college admissions, of tuition, without status?
This is where a very specific policy made all the difference. She was admitted to the University of Texas at Austin, which is a great school.
A very prestigious school.
And she was able to attend because of a specific Texas state law. It allowed undocumented students who graduated from a Texas high school to pay in-state tuition.
Without that one law.
Her whole trajectory would have likely just ended right there. She financed her way through navigating constant financial stress, psychological stress, and she graduated with a finance degree.
But, having a degree is one thing. Actually getting into the incredibly restricted corporate pipeline of a place like Goldman Sachs, that must have been nearly impossible without the right papers.
It was. Unconventional, to say the least. She managed to secure an internship there in 2005. And her talent, it wasn't just good, it was undeniable.
So she just outworked everyone.
She committed herself completely, staying late, taking on extra work, performing at a level that it forced people to recognize her. And that recognition came quickly in just 7 years, which is a remarkably rapid ascent by any Wall Street standard. She became a vice president.
In the structured products division, no less.
Yeah.
One of the most competitive.
Exactly.
But here's the part that it's staggering. And it makes her story resonate so deeply. She achieved all of this extraordinary professional success, while maintaining this profound, emotionally taxing secret.
The secret of her undocumented status.
Yes.
And, our research really hammers home the cost of that secrecy. Jalissa was simultaneously managing two portfolios.
Two portfolios.
Yes. One was a complex, multi-billion-dollar financial risk portfolio for one of the most powerful banks in the world. And the other was an immensely complex personal risk portfolio.
Living with that constant fear.
Constant, terrifying threat that a simple internal HR audit, a routine background check, even a procedural question could instantly just upend everything. Her career, her status, her ability to even be in the country.
I just can't imagine that level of psychological pressure to be functioning at such a high technical level, making these rapid critical decisions.
All while carrying the weight of potential discovery every single minute of every single day.
It's incredible.
It required a level of emotional endurance, of compartmentalization that very few professionals ever have to face. The intensity of the high finance job was secondary to the intensity of maintaining that secret. Her success wasn't just based on financial skill. It was built on sheer, raw persistence.
So her life finally changes in 2009. She gets her green card.
And then citizenship in 2014. And she didn't see that success as, the finish line. She saw it as a platform.
She left Wall Street.
She did. She dedicated her life to advocacy, to education equity. She co-founded the Ascend Educational Fund, which gives essential scholarships to immigrants, and this is key, explicitly regardless of their legal status.
Her transformation is amazing. From striving in the shadows to actively trying to dismantle the very barriers that she faced.
It really is. It just showcases the power of opportunity. What happens when those structural constraints are finally removed?
So if we take Jalissa's story as a metaphor for the immigrant experience in STEM today, what's the central takeaway for you? What should our listeners be thinking about?
The takeaway is resilience mixed with high anxiety. Her experience mirrors that of countless highly skilled international students, postdocs, researchers. They are constantly balancing this incredible intellectual ambition, this drive to contribute, with the gnawing daily uncertainty.
The uncertainty of whether they'll even be allowed to stay long enough to finish the project.
Or to launch the company. The talent is abundant, but the opportunity to actually use that talent, it's conditional. It's so conditional.
Our legal team, led by attorney Chris Ingram, they really emphasize this point. They say that immigration law doesn't define or limit human potential.
No, it just shapes the path.
It just shapes the path, sometimes making it needlessly difficult, sometimes making it impossible. The counsel here is clear. You cannot let bureaucracy define your dream.
It's a message of strategic persistence. For anyone listening who's dealing with endless delays, The dread of an RFE notice, the uncertainty of a visa cap. Jalissa's story reinforces the truth that your circumstances today are temporary.
There are just too many visas out there, and I don't know which one is right for us. We need to get the right advice.
Communication is everything, and I just need someone who will listen and guide me to the right visa type, and not make promises that they can't deliver.
There are so many documents. I need someone to walk me through each one. I can't afford to make any mistakes.
If I can just find a lawyer who understands my potential, I know America will be an excellent opportunity for me and my family.
Welcome to the law offices of Chris M. Ingram, and we are your immigration lawyers, and we will be with you every step of the way in your immigration journey.
At the law office of Chris M. Ingram, you get a free consultation so we can understand your needs.
We don't make promises we can't keep. Our success rate speaks for itself.
Join us and access your step-by-step video guides that answer every visa question.
Their platform is amazing. There are videos that instruct you on everything you have to do. It meant we were in control and we could do it in our own time.
They couldn't have been more helpful. They answered every question that I had, and it was easy to see they were the lawyers for me.
I couldn't believe it with my busy schedule. They always had time to talk to me and put me at ease. That's what I like about them.
So go on our website and get your free consultation now, and your new life is about to begin.
Ask me.
We did it! We did it! We did it!
Oh my God, I got my visa! Yes, I did it!
Powerful way to start. From this story of personal resilience, now we have to confront the structural volatility that makes that resilience so necessary.
Right. Let's zoom out.
So segment 1 really grounded us. Now segment 2 requires that zoom out. We have to look at the current operational environment. Our researchers describe this as a dynamic, fast-moving arena.
Yeah, where law, technology, security, and especially these internal administrative policies are all converging.
And it's directly affecting highly skilled professionals every single day.
The current environment, it really does require constant vigilance. Our team synthesized some major developments just over the last month or two, just to illustrate how fragile the system is.
And what are the big trends?
We're seeing the system shift toward cost barriers, toward intense scrutiny, deep operational restructuring within USCIS, and just unpredictable legal outcomes.
Okay, let's break that down. Let's start with development A, the annual asylum fee. Now, this targets humanitarian applicants, but why should someone in the STEM community see this as a warning, a canary in the coal mine?
Because it signals a broad and, frankly, a concerning policy shift towards cost-based access to the entire immigration system.
So it's not just about asylum.
No. The specific detail was a new requirement for asylum applicants to pay not just an initial filing fee, but a recurring, an annual fee while their case is pending.
Which can take years.
It can drag on for many, many years. The intent seems pretty clear.
To create a financial deterrent.
Precisely. It creates an economic barrier for the most vulnerable. Now, while advocates immediately challenged it, the real implication for everyone else is in the instability it reveals. A federal court did issue a temporary stay, halting it.
So USCIS had to walk it back.
They had to publicly walk back payment notices that had already been sent out. And the chaos of that back and forth, the policy being announced, instructions sent, then immediately retracted, that process itself is the warning.
So the takeaway for the STEM community is that the entire financial architecture of immigration is fundamentally unpredictable.
That's it. If policymakers can introduce significant novel fees for one category of applicant, the precedent is set. It suggests that financial burden could easily expand.
To what? New fees for H-1B lottery participation.
Or sharply higher premium processing costs. Or new annual charges for international students on F-1 visas or scholars on J-1s. It just challenges the assumption that this is just an administrative cost. It could become an unpredictable, volatile revenue source for the government.
Okay, that's deeply concerning. Let's move to development B, which I think hits right at the core of career stability and personal privacy. Expanded continuous vetting. We need to go much deeper here. What does continuous vetting actually mean for the 55 million visa holders being scrutinized?
It represents a profound shift. We're moving away from periodic checks, when you apply or renew, to a state of constant monitoring. It basically moves immigration stability into a permanent state of audit.
A permanent audit. And who's affected?
It's over 55 million individuals. We're talking H-1B workers, F-1 students, L-1 managers, J-1 exchange visitors, basically almost everyone who isn't a citizen or a green card holder.
And what data are they using? It's got to be more than just checking criminal databases.
Oh, much more. The policy detail is that they are using complex data mining tools across government databases, financial records, travel histories, and this is the most invasive part.
Yeah.
Social media patterns.
Social media patterns. Okay, that's where this gets really unnerving for an individual professional.
It really is.
Can you walk us through the practical consequences of that? What are these systems looking for? What could trigger an abrupt visa cancellation?
The consequence is a dramatic increase in operational risk for the individual. The systems that agencies like DHS and CBP are using, they're not looking for high-level espionage. They're often algorithmically flagging subtle behavioral indicators. For example, a system might flag someone for attending an unsanctioned political protest, even if it was peaceful and totally legal.
Or for an old tweet.
Or for an old, misinterpreted comment from 10 years ago that suddenly gets pulled into a new vetting context. Our legal team has seen cases where minor procedural oversights or an association with a loosely defined risk group online triggered a review.
And that review leads to an abrupt visa cancellation or a denial of re-entry at the border.
Exactly.
That is it's deeply unsettling for professionals who need global travel and stability. An H-1B worker who's deep into a critical multi-year pharmaceutical research grant could have their entire career just derailed instantly.
It introduces this layer of existential uncertainty. And companies, they now have to view immigration not just as an administrative step, but as a constantly active risk category. Predictability is severely challenged.
So this vetting expansion, it connects to the broader structural changes within USCIS itself, right? The operational shakeup from our title.
It does. This is critical. While it doesn't always make headlines, the internal operational posture of USCIS has tightened dramatically, and it's impacting STEM workers daily in 3 key areas.
Okay, what's the first area?
The standards for request for evidence, or an RFE.
Have they shifted?
They have become exponentially more stringent, more detailed. Under the guise of promoting integrity, officers are now empowered and often, let's be honest, implicitly required to issue an RFE for even minor discrepancies.
Or to request documentation that seems totally redundant.
Completely redundant. For an EB2 or EB3 application, this means proving your specialized knowledge or professional requirement has to be done with overwhelming, sometimes impossible, specificity. Our attorneys note a clear administrative shift towards skepticism.
Which translates into what? More costs, longer timelines.
And way more stress for the applicant. So it's not just that they're asking for more evidence. The standard of what qualifies as sufficient evidence has been raised.
So you don't just have to meet the minimum requirements anymore.
No, you have to exceed them. You have to preemptively address any possible future challenge they might dream up.
Wow. Okay, what's the second operational area?
The shift to electronic filing and its unintended consequences.
It sounds efficient, right? Electronic filing should be a good thing.
It sounds efficient, but it introduces massive technical risks and structural bottlenecks. While it might speed up the initial submission, it transfers the entire burden of data accuracy and organization onto you, the applicant.
So a single typo.
A single error in the metadata, a mislabeled document. It can cause the electronic system to just reject the application outright, often without a human even looking at it to catch a simple mistake.
And that front-end inefficiency just slows everything down no matter how fast the processing is supposed to be.
Exactly. And the third area is funding and capacity. Despite collecting all these high fees, USCIS often operates with budget deficits.
Which directly affects processing priorities.
It does. When they focus resources on one area, let's say border security applications, they have to divert those resources from other areas. That often leaves long pending I-140s or I-485s just stagnant.
So a STEM professional could face years of delay, not because their application has a flaw, but just because the agency is triaging its limited resources.
That's right. All of this suggests the system isn't collapsing, it's being redefined.
It's evolving to be more complex, more costly, and more invasive.
That's the crucial distinction. The system isn't failing, it's functionally tightening. And Attorney Chris Ingram's summary really emphasizes the strategic necessity this creates. The American dream doesn't disappear when the rules get harder.
It just requires a higher level of strategic engagement.
And immediate expert support. You absolutely cannot be passive in this environment.
Okay, finally, let's touch on development C in the legal sphere, the Supreme Court and humanitarian status. Tell us about the TPS termination ruling.
The Supreme Court issued an emergency order that allowed the administration to proceed with terminating temporary protected status, or TPS, for Venezuelan nationals.
And TPS, just to remind everyone, allows people from certain countries experiencing conflict or disaster to live and work legally in the U.S.
Yes, sometimes for decades, they become integral parts of the community and the economy.
So what was the immediate ripple effect of this decision on the economy and on STEM fields?
The ripple effect is huge. This action immediately jeopardizes the work authorization of potentially hundreds of thousands of people. And many of these individuals are highly educated. They contribute significantly to STEM, to healthcare, to higher education.
So universities and hospitals dependent on these Venezuelan professionals were forced to scramble.
Immediately, they had to see if any of these people could be shifted to other visa categories, like an H-1B or an O-1, which is often not possible. What's fascinating here is that the ruling reinforces that legal status, even seemingly stable humanitarian protection, is increasingly conditional.
And subject to rapid reversal by the courts or the executive branch.
It signals instability across the entire immigrant community. Whether you're an H-1B worker or a TPS holder, the message is the same. Policy is in rapid flux, and you need contingency planning and a deep understanding of your legal options.
Okay, this is a perfect transition. We're now at the heart of the high-skilled immigration debate, the H-1B visa.
Well, the battleground.
It really is. And the underlying tension is always the same, right? It's the political pressure to prioritize domestic workers versus the economic reality that we need to attract indispensable global talent.
And the H-1B program is continually under fire. The debate so often devolves into these sound bites that just completely ignore the complex economic data. The research our team compiled really highlights this stark partisan rift.
So let's start with the protectionist argument. We saw Laura Ingram's position, which is the popular
Right, the idea that you're flooding the country with foreign workers and suppressing wages for Americans, especially new graduates.
It's very classic zero-sum framing.
You finally got your family together on a H-1B. Your American dream begins. Your employer files for your EB-2 green card, but the wait is over 11 years. As the years go by, frustration grows, and now the company is talking about layoffs. This could be the end of your American dream. You search for help, but luckily, you land on BreakthroughUSA.com. They listen, reassured you, and built your EB-1 case with precision. Then one day, a notification buzzes, EB-1 approved. With your EB-1 green card, your entire family can breathe.
I have got my visa. I got my visa.
That's why the law offices of Chris M. Ingram is trusted. Your future shouldn't wait. Let's talk EB-1.
What are the next steps?
Need help with your visa? Book your free consultation now at www.breakthroughUSA.com and let us take care of you.
But interestingly, President Trump actually countered this by arguing for necessity.
He did. He specifically pointed out that the U.S. just doesn't possess certain talents and that you can't simply transition people off the unemployment line into a high-tech manufacturing facility to make. And I think his example was missiles.
And that example, as stark as it is, brilliantly illustrates the reality of modern specialized R&D. The required skills are niche, they're globally scarce, and you can't just source them domestically on demand.
No, it confirms that for so many high-tech fields, AI development, advanced materials science, specific areas of clean energy engineering, the talent pipeline is inherently global. It has to be.
But then you have this policy contradiction which makes it all so complex.
Yeah.
Despite defending the need for talent, the previous administration also pursued measures to curb the program.
Yes. We saw the imposition of a high $100,000 one-time entry fee via proclamation set for September 2025. It was aimed at curbing what they called low-wage imports in the H-1B category.
But the irony is that making the program prohibitively expensive ultimately hurts the very highly skilled, high-wage professionals the economy needs most.
Of course. It potentially forces companies to just move those jobs offshore entirely. Why deal with the hassle?
And just to underscore the political heat here, the research also mentioned Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's proposal to aggressively phase out the H-1B program entirely,
limiting it to a mere 10,000 medical visas annually over 10 years. I mean, that extreme proposal, it just serves as a constant reminder to the STEM community that the program's very existence is always at the mercy of political negotiation.
So let's pivot sharply now to the economic data. This is what our legal research team provided, and it just fundamentally counters those wage suppression claims.
Let's dive deep into the evidence here, because the economic consensus is overwhelming. H-1B workers are overwhelmingly complementary to the native workforce.
Not displacement agents.
Not at all.
Okay, so let's start with the job creation argument. This was popularized by figures like Elon Musk.
Right. Musk referenced studies showing that, on average, each H-1B holder creates 1.83 jobs for native-born Americans.
1.83. So that means if a company hires 100 H-1B engineers,
they are indirectly creating 183 new jobs. For accountants, project managers, marketing specialists, administrative staff, all of whom are U.S. citizens or residents. The idea that this is a zero-sum game is just factually incorrect.
And what about the work from Nicholas Morales at the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond? What did he find about displacement?
So Morales' study was clever. He looked at firms that won the H-1B lottery versus the firms that lost. And he found that the winning firms, they expanded employment and revenue significantly.
And crucially,
showed no evidence of displacing native college-educated workers. This confirms the complementary effect. The foreign talent allows the firm to take on new projects to expand, which ultimately requires more native labor to support that growth.
I want to circle back to that ResearchGate analysis on wage growth. You have to make that specific coefficient, the plus 0.00032, relatable for us.
Okay, so what that number means practically is this. When industries successfully use H-1B talent to become more productive and grow, that success slightly pulls up the average wages for everyone else in that industry.
So the H-1B worker isn't a wage anchor?
No, they're a productivity accelerator. They increase the size of the economic pie for everyone.
And Jennifer Hunt from Rutgers, her research really cemented this productivity aspect for the entire U.S. economy.
Her findings are profound. She attributed 30 to 50% of all U.S. productivity growth between 1990 and 2010 directly to the contribution of H-1B workers.
30 to 50%. That's a staggering number.
It's massive. And what's more, she found that an increase in foreign tech workers leads to tangible wage increases for native workers, specifically a 7 to 8% wage increase for college-educated natives and a 3 to 4% increase for non-college natives.
So the evidence just keeps piling up. Stuart Anderson and others also addressed the fair wage concern head-on.
Yes, their research confirmed, using data from the GAO and NFAP, that H-1B visa holders are paid the same or often higher salaries than U.S. workers with comparable experience.
Which directly refutes the claim that companies are using the program for cheap labor.
It completely refutes it. They are sourcing highly productive, highly specialized, and appropriately compensated talent. The big CRS report from February 2025 confirmed the overall conclusion. There are no broad negative effects on native-born employment or wages.
So if the economic data is so crystal clear that H-1B is an economic booster, is the political opposition really about wages? Or is it fundamentally a capacity issue that our domestic education system simply can't produce enough talent and politicians don't want to admit it?
That is the essential question this research forces us to ask. And the team at attorney Chris Ingram's office highlighted that America's persistent talent shortage. It's not because immigration is too easy. It's partly rooted in the prohibitively high cost of education here compared to our global competitors.
Okay, let's detail those educational costs because they really illustrate the size of this domestic barrier.
The numbers are just staggering. A bachelor's degree alone. It can range from an average of, say, $48,000 for a public in-state school to a massive $172,000 for a private university.
And that's just the bachelor's. For many of these roles, you need more.
You need a master's degree on top of that. So the cumulative cost easily exceeds $100,000, maybe soaring past $230,000. A STEM PhD, you could be looking at $500,000 or more before any aid.
And this cost, it just prevents so many bright native-born students from even pursuing these advanced degrees.
Exactly. And the international comparison here is crucial.
How do other major economies handle this talent investment?
The contrast is devastating for the U.S. model. Countries like Germany and Norway, They offer tuition-free higher education to everyone, including non-EU students who meet the standards.
So they see it as a national investment.
It's a national investment. Austria, Finland, they offer very low tuition, often zero for non-EU students who win scholarships. They're removing the financial barrier to entry, which creates a deeper, more robust native talent pool. The U.S. model restricts our native talent pool through cost, and then we need immigration to fill the gap we created.
That is the massive hidden insight that connects education policy, economic competitiveness, and immigration strategy. Okay, let's wrap this segment with some practical guidance for professionals navigating all this volatility.
The volatility demands a proactive strategy. For professionals who... Advice is multifaceted. 1. Renew your applications early. 6 months is the absolute minimum.
And
2, explore O1 visas for extraordinary ability if your profile qualifies. It's a less volatile, non-cap alternative, and we should probably define what that is.
Yes, please. What is an O1 visa, and what does rigorous I-9 compliance mean?
Okay, so the O1 visa is for individuals who possess extraordinary ability in sciences, arts, business, and so on. It requires a really high bar of demonstrated achievement awards, publications, a high salary, critical roles, but it's highly desirable because it's not subject to the H-1B lottery cap.
And I-9 compliance.
I-9 compliance. That's the mandatory form every employer uses to verify identity and employment authorization. Rigorous compliance means employers must keep immaculate records proving they verified everything correctly and on time. For an H-1B worker, a failure here can terminate their status and mean huge fines for the company.
So that level of detailed preparation is non-negotiable now.
Absolutely. Especially with continuous vetting, the turbulence requires an almost military level of planning.
Okay, our final story brings us to the macroeconomic battlefield. We're talking about how immigration policy has shifted from being a dependable growth stabilizer to a source of volatility.
And that volatility is intensified by concurrent policies like rising tariffs. We're looking at some new economic turbulence here.
The research emphasizes that the U.S. economy relies on predictable growth factors. So when immigration pathways narrow and trade barriers rise.
These forces act together to introduce severe volatility, and that impacts labor markets, inflation, and ultimately U.S. competitiveness on the global stage.
So let's talk about pressure A, persistent labor mismatches, and talent flight. We know shortages exist, but how do enforcement initiatives and policy unpredictability make them worse?
Well, enforcement initiatives and fewer legal arrivals, they don't just affect the high-skilled. They intensify existing fundamental shortages across the entire economy.
Like in agriculture and construction.
Exactly. Our researchers noted documented reports of crops literally being left to rot in fields and construction projects stalled for months, all due to a lack of adequate labor.
And focusing on the high-tech sectors, biotech, AI, energy, how does this labor fragility translate into a long-term threat to competitiveness?
So why did you choose the law offices of Chris M. Ingram as your attorney?
Honestly, they made it feel like I was never on my own.
Every time I had a question, someone actually answered. They cared.
We never felt alone. The videos felt like we had someone with us the whole way. Every form, every question, they had a video that explained it.
It made the process so easy.
Our tutorials are designed to get you over the finishing line, and after watching them, you are reassured that you have completed that section correctly.
At the law offices of Chris M. Ingram, our mission is to support you. Our instructional videos will guide you every step of the way. So join us.
It translates directly into long-term risk. High-tech companies aren't just slowing down hiring. They're actively reassessing their global footprint.
Why?
Because the cost, the delay, the extreme unpredictability of the U.S. immigration process, it makes hiring essential international talent a liability. And crucially, we're seeing accelerating talent flight.
Talent flight. That's the key phrase. So where are these companies and research teams relocating?
They're shifting them to environments that offer clear, faster, more stable immigration pathways. Canada, for example, has streamlined startup visas and fast-track global talent programs.
The UK has a global talent visa.
A highly attractive one. Singapore is aggressively courting AI researchers. When U.S. policy introduces high, unpredictable risk, rational global businesses manage that risk by moving the one variable they can control, their location. We are effectively exporting our own future innovation capacity.
Now let's move to Pressure B tariffs and inflation. This seems separate, but how do tariff policy and immigration volatility interact to hurt STEM professionals?
They create a perfect storm of tightening budgets and rising project costs. Significant tariff increases, especially on advanced manufacturing from China, directly raise input costs for American companies.
So we're talking about essential components for R&D.
We're talking about specialized sensors, semiconductors, testing equipment, advanced materials. These raised costs are non-negotiable, and they feed directly into inflation.
So for the STEM professional working in design or research, how does this actually show up in their daily work?
It leads to immediate practical strain, delayed projects, tighter R&D budgets, sudden shifts in production planning. For instance, a biotech firm designing new diagnostic tools suddenly faces a 25% tariff on the specialized microchips they need,
Which results in a massive, sudden increase in their costs.
Exactly. The firm then has to choose, delay the project by 6 months or cut research staff. And that staff might themselves be H-1B workers facing their own visa uncertainty. The policy instability reinforces the financial strain.
And this combined pressure leads directly to the university research crisis, which is the engine of our future STEM talent.
It really is. Universities are critically dependent on international talent. Many graduate programs, especially in engineering, physics, computer science, they rely heavily on international students who fill research assistantships.
And those assistantships are the primary labor force keeping grant projects going.
They are. A faculty member who relies on 5 international PhD students to execute a multi-million-dollar NASA grant suddenly finds 2 of those students denied visas or unable to travel due to these new vetting issues.
And the research slows down.
The grant timelines suffer, momentum is lost, and faculty struggle to staff their labs consistently. This systemic disruption happening across hundreds of major U.S. research institutions creates a significant, measurable drag on America's long-term scientific progress.
So what's the bottom line on the macroeconomic front when we put all these pressures together?
The cumulative effect is clear in recent macroeconomic forecasts. Growth projections are being revised downward, and analysts are increasingly citing reduced immigration coupled with disruptive trade barriers as central factors hindering expansion.
So immigration policy has stopped being a peripheral topic. It's become a primary, unpredictable structural force shaping the U.S. economy's future.
That is the definitive conclusion from the legal research. And attorney Chris Ingram's final economic view reiterates this. The U.S. economy tightens, and it shrinks when immigration pathways become difficult and volatile. The instruction for the individual professional remains the same.
Plan. Position yourself to not just survive the turbulence, but to strategically succeed in spite of it.
American Dream requires maximum adaptability now.
Okay. We've completed a pretty comprehensive tour today. We've moved from the resilience of a single human life all the way up to the global economic gravity that shapes national competitiveness. Let's try to synthesize these 4 stories.
Right. We covered individual resilience through Jalissa Arcee's story, showing potential isn't limited by status. We highlighted policy velocity, where the last 30 days proved that predictability is fragile.
We exposed the procedural tightening, how those operational USCIS changes, stricter RFEs, continuous vetting, are raising the administrative bar for everyone.
And we connected all of that to economic gravity, where tariffs, labor shortages, and talent flight directly threaten U.S. innovation capacity.
And this synthesis, it delivers a crucial warning for our listener, especially if you're in a STEM field.
The warning is that the historical assumption of stability in the U.S. immigration system, it's just no longer valid. The expectation of a linear process, of a guaranteed status if you just check the boxes, that's gone.
Status is conditional, costs can shift without warning, scrutiny is perpetual.
And passive awareness is no longer enough. The modern system demands constant, proactive vigilance.
So let's pivot entirely to the path forward. What is the most actionable advice our research offers to STEM professionals navigating this new landscape?
You need to apply your STEM instincts. You're trained to anticipate failure modes, create redundancies, and test assumptions rigorously. Apply those core instincts to your immigration strategy.
Okay, give us the specific, immediate steps people should be taking today.
First, learn early, document everything thoroughly, and maintain impeccable records, especially digitally, because you have to anticipate continuous vetting. Every professional achievement, every publication, every award should be archived and ready to go. Second, seek competent legal guidance immediately. Don't wait for a crisis. View this as preventative maintenance, not a cure for disaster. Third, if you're a manager or a principal investigator, you have to integrate immigration planning into your professional staffing models and your research designs.
View H-1B O-1 status as high-risk critical components that require redundancy planning.
Exactly. It's about building a robust, adaptive defense system around your status. Anticipate the worst-case scenario while you're striving for the best.
And finally,
remember the human connection. Julissa R.C.'s story reminds us of the profound psychological weight of all this uncertainty. So support your colleagues, your students, your employees who might be navigating these unseen worries.
that deeper lesson of persistence, it underpins the entire immigrant story in America. And in closing, we turn to the final quote from attorney Chris M. Ingram.
Immigration is not just a legal process. It is a story of persistence. Policies will change, sometimes for the better, sometimes not. But those who stay informed, plan wisely, and refuse to surrender their dreams will continue to shape America's scientific and economic future.
The path may be harder, the bureaucratic hurdle higher, but it is not closed. The future of American discovery and competitiveness depends entirely on the level of foresight and planning used by immigrants and employers today.
It's a powerful thought to end on. It highlights the absolute necessity of strategic action.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We hope you gained a lot from this discussion. Please leave us a comment if you can. Additionally, you can support our channel by sharing it with your friends and family, helping us build this community together.
Also follow us on Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and Instagram, where we're growing rapidly thanks to our social media team.
We would also like to thank attorney Chris Ingram and his dedicated team once again for researching and preparing this material for our presentation.
See you next time on Let's Talk U.S. Immigration. Bye for now.